Welcome to I Finally Get It, where real people share real life lessons so you can have a real good life. Have you ever thought about starting a business because you saw a gap in the market? On this episode, we welcome Reece Theriot, and he shares how that might not be a great idea. In studio with me, as always, our producer, Dustin Webb. I'm your host, Jeff Martin, and here's my interview with Reece Theriot. Let's get it. Reece Theriot, thank you so much for coming in to I Finally Get It.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, for those of you who don't know you, I just wanted to kind of introduce you. You are the founder and CEO of Fulcrum Marketing and Sales.
That's right.
And I've known you for several years, but tell us the moment when you said, I finally get it.
Back in 2018, I was that 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
So back in 2018, I was a professor of sales and marketing at UL Lafayette, and I had a ton of great sales students that were looking for that entry-level sales job. And I don't know if you cut your teeth in sales as an entry-level salesperson, but it's tough to get that role, you know, because most sales managers want to hire people with experience. As one VP of sales told me, skins on the wall, you know, show me you can do this and I'll hire you. And so that tends to lend itself to getting a job at kind of a major sales clearinghouse, like big insurance agency or a car company or something like that. My students, you know, they were taking sales classes and competing in sales competitions. So I thought, man, this is the top brass of collegiate talent that should be doing this job. And they were still struggling to get into certain career paths. And so that kind of gave me an opportunity, or it gave me an idea that there might be something here. And so the original idea was kind of being a sales academy where after graduation, you could go into this sales program, get that entry-level sales experience, and then transition into the workforce. Couple that with a lot of companies coming to me for sales training, sales consulting. And the thing that I kept realizing was that they needed sales execution. They didn't need someone to tell them what to do, how to do it, when to do it. They needed someone to just do it.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And so it was like, okay, I have all these entry-level sales students that have graduated. They have college degrees. They want to get into the workforce. I got a workforce that wants to hire them but doesn't know how. So let's figure something out. And so I put a kind of a rough working model together and started Fulcrum Sales and Marketing. And, you know, we got our first great customer. Probably our first customer I was working with over at UL, trying to help him hire a sales intern. After about the second intern, it was clear that he didn't know how to show that intern how to be successful. He thought that if he hired someone, you know, he'd get the right person that would just take ownership and go. But
right out the gate, they'd be
but it's
sales
like,
ready.
You know, that's far and few between. It's probably a little bit too idealistic. And he had hired one of my best sales students right before he graduated. His name was Brennan Drobish. Brennan is like very far advanced in the medical sales world now.
Got it.
And Mike had hired him as an intern. And Brennan would call me and be like, man, I'm not getting any direction. I don't know what to do. I'd call Mike and Mike would say, I don't know what direction to give him. You know, so that was the paradoxical moment of someone needs to be in there coaching and leading this process. And so I hired one of my sales students. I hired my intern at UL. We started the company, and we were lucky enough to get Mike's business. He's a company out of Lake Charles called Lake Area Anesthesia. That rolled into working with the Cardiovascular Institute of the South and helping them launch a whole new division of their $200 million healthcare enterprise. And it just kept going, man. It was wild. The aha moment for me, Jeff, was I had 4 failed businesses before. 3 that are probably really worth mentioning, and I'll mention 1, or I'll mention 2. My first real company endeavor was I wanted to create a coffee creamer that was protein-based. My whole thesis was that, you know, people who are avid nutritionists and sports enthusiasts and they work out a lot, they'll drink coffee as a pre-workout. It's a natural pre-workout, as opposed to some of these crazy pre-workouts you hear about. And then you're putting milk in your coffee, and milk is a protein-based source. So how do you take, and what I was doing was I was taking a protein and dumping it in my coffee, shaking it up, and that was my workout drink. So I thought like there should be a branded product here. So I set out on this journey to make a protein-based coffee creamer. That was my first idea. It was called Projo.
How did that not work?
So this is the aha moment. I started meeting with a food chemist who was so nice to lend me a lot of his time. I'd drive up to Baton Rouge. He was out of LSU. I met with the UL engineering department, the food science department, Dr. Bernice Adelaide, who is a phenomenal food chemist, helped me kind of down a path. And she ended up saying, look, you really need to talk to a guy who is in this space, this protein derivative space. So I met with Dr. Paul Wilson out of Baton Rouge, and we'd meet at a coffee shop, and I'd bring him all my crazy concoctions. And he was like, look, the problem is that protein will denature, whey protein especially, will denature at around 160 degrees. And coffee served at 170.
Got it.
So the second you dump that whey protein in there, it's going to cook it. And that's what happens. So I don't know if you know this, but when you cook an egg white and it goes from clear to opaque to white, you're denaturing, you're cooking off a lot of the protein. That's why bodybuilders will drink the egg, because you have more bioavailable nutrition in the egg white. The albumin, the protein in egg white, is not denatured. When you cook it, you denature it.
You learned a lot, didn't you?
Oh my God, dude. I know a lot about whey protein. It's kind of silly. So when you take whey protein in its natural form and you dump it in coffee, it cooks it immediately. You think that it's not mixing, but that's not the problem. You're cooking the protein, and it becomes a basically not a toxin to the body, but literally a waste. You're just going to pass it. So man, I took this as kind of like a mission. Like I'm going to figure out how to...
Because it's a great idea.
Yeah. And I started falling in love with the problem of like, and I got so zoned in to how do I figure out a way to not cook this protein in coffee, right? Like how do I protect it? How do I micro-encapsulate it? I was working with the Right Food Group in Karen Crow about micro-encapsulation and all this crazy stuff. I went down this crazy path. I had 300 trial cookings at my house where I was up at night, all night, because I was drinking caffeinated coffee, mixing this stuff and then dumping it in a fresh pot of coffee to see if it would mix. And the aha moment for me was, you got to do a business that you're technically competent in. Technically competent, right? I wasn't a food chemist. I wasn't a food biologist. I wasn't even a chef. I had no idea what I was doing. And you can only pull so much out of people's brains and apply it. I was ignorant. You know? I was looking at my competition. I was looking at what other people were doing. And here's the market idea I missed, because I was so wrapped up in this technical problem that I didn't know how to technically solve. I didn't realize that the biggest trend on the marketplace back then, this was probably 2017, 2016, was cold brew.
Yeah, correct.
My stuff would have worked in cold brew.
In cold brew, just not the hot.
So I was so infatuated with this technical problem that I was not technically competent to solve. That I missed the thing that I was actually technically competent in, which is marketing. I missed the market opportunity.
There's another lesson, because so many of us, we put these blinders on and we can't see out of our rearview mirror, you know? Right. And we just don't see things coming because we're uber focused on the wrong things.
You know who captured the protein coffee market before anybody?
Who's that?
Starbucks.
Is that right?
Yeah. So that's how big of an opportunity it really was that these massive players, once they realized, oh, cold brew's growing some steam, people are drinking it as a pre-workout, they saw the same things I saw 2 years before them.
Exactly.
They're massive amounts of market research teams. I saw it before they did. The thing, though, is that they had chemists on staff, and the chemists looked at them and said, "You'll never figure that out."
Yeah, correct.
So they knew what to do, right? You go with the momentum in cold brew, and so it was a good lesson for me. The kind of the crazy thing that happened to me was, I was in the MBA program at UL at the same time. I had this kind of budding career in orthopedic sales. That's where I cut my teeth in sales. I was on the roads all the time. I was staying up late studying, working on this coffee creamer, drinking a lot of coffee. and I got in a real bad car accident.
Oh, no.
And broke my arm, totaled my car. I remember opening my eyes and coffee was everywhere in my car, and I was like, I just cannot keep doing this. I'm not technically cut out to solve this problem.
Yeah.
And that was an aha moment for me, because I went back to the drawing board and then I made the mistake again, and I'll tell you about that. But I went back to the drawing board of, I need to start a company that solves a problem that I'm technically good at, or that I really want to solve.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. You got some passion there. You're really good at it, and you love it.
That's right. I did learn some cool things though along the way as a 19-year-old kid. Was perception's reality.
Yeah.
So when I was trying to get my hands on all this raw material, proteins, xanthan gum, things you see in the ingredient list of products that you don't know what the hell they are, you have to buy that, right? So that you can put it into a product. You can't just mix 4 products together and then come up with your own proprietary blend. Like, you have to go buy the raw ingredient.
Yeah.
Well, if you call Brentag, which is a giant raw material food manufacturing provider, if you call someone like Brentag and you say, hey, send me 4 pounds of xanthan gum, they're going to bust out laughing, because people order that in the barrels. Right?
I bet.
You can't order 4 pounds of xanthan gum. You order 4 pallets of xanthan gum. And then it's like $15,000.
Yeah,
right?
correct.
So it's like, okay, what am I going to do? You can't buy xanthan gum on the shelf. At least I couldn't find it. Couldn't find it on Amazon. So I created a little website for my company that was a food IP technology and research company.
Oh, I like that.
And I was the CEO of that company. So when I called Brentag, I'd say, hey, I'm working on a new product. I'm Reece. I'm the CTO of lamleo.com. And I was ready. I had all my SKUs. I need 5 pounds of this. I need 2 buckets of this. I need 4 pounds of this. They put a giant box together. Mr. Theriot, we really want to earn your business. We'd love to be your vendor of choice for your next innovative product. And it landed in my driveway like 2 weeks later. I had everything I needed. I didn't pay for any of it. I didn't pay for any of it.
You have, and that's the cool thing about you and so many entrepreneurs. They figure a lot of stuff out along the way.
Right.
And if you can capitalize on some of it, then that's great.
Yeah.
So I love those stories. I want to get back though to Fulcrum, because you've definitely figured this out.
Yeah.
And I've told you many times that you have something with that. I've heard that you went to UL, you MBA program, you ended up teaching at UL, you have some sales experience in orthopedic, I guess, medical equipment and things.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been selling all my life though.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Salespeople.
I want to ask you this though, because I went to LSU and I have a finance degree. There was always management, marketing, finance, general business, things like that. You were teaching sales and marketing at UL. Do they have a sales department or a curriculum?
So they have a sales minor.
Okay.
At least at the time I left, there was no sales major.
Yeah.
But there was a sales minor. And so the real field is called professional selling. That's what the field is called.
That's excellent.
Yeah. And there are several universities that have a major of professional selling.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And most of the curriculum is really, it's a practitioner curriculum, meaning the curriculum typically focuses on a competition that is graded by sales professionals, not so much by a sales academic.
You got it. Got it.
But it is a budding area of academic research.
And I think it should be, because most companies, which you've, with Fulcrum, you do this for them or do this with the company for sure. They don't understand the differentiation between marketing and sales. And they can do a lot of marketing activities. Some of that comes kind of natural to some of them. But sales is a totally different bird.
Yeah.
Where you have to actually convert those leads into a paying customer. Right. And so let's talk about Fulcrum.
Okay. I wanted to say one thing that is maybe an aha moment with just regards to marketing is academically, the way you look at marketing is more of a research function.
Sure. Exactly.
Right. Whereas sales takes the research of the marketing department and puts it into execution. Marketing today has become a very execution forward thing, right? Creative, branding, lead generation. It's kind of a sales component though. With the internet, you have so many more mediums and channels to put marketing research into action.
Correct.
And that action doesn't typically fall on the responsibility of the sales individual.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think, where that rift between marketing and sales is starting to get wider and wider because of the tools and the channels today. Marketing can do more with its research.
Correct.
So it's not researching as much, it's executing. Sales is really becoming now a new research tool where through the customer discussion, more and more opportunities for the company on new products and new services is kind of coming out. I think it's a result of marketing losing its way as the main research function. Sales is having to get in and say, well, how do I use this conversation with a buyer to uncover new ways in which we can offer new product and service and
for sure,
and have more strategy? Because marketing used to do that. It used to be all they did was just research.
Correct.
Customer research, surveys, polling, focus groups. It's kind of gotten tossed aside with this dawn of lead generation.
Correct. It's mind-boggling how many people don't really appreciate the differences. And you know what's tough though, and where I think you're filling a gap with Fulcrum, is a lot of companies don't know how to do sales or do it well, and they don't know how to manage salespeople very well.
Right.
And so, what cracks me up is you said something about, you had to have sales experience to get a sales job. I remember in college going to a friend of mine, it was his dad, and I said, I'd like to be like a teller at a bank. He goes, yeah, I could hire you, but you got to have a year experience. I'm going, how do you get a year experience as a teller to be a teller? How does anyone ever become a teller?
Right.
But sales is so different because you become a teller at a bank. If you can make change and make deposits, you're done.
Right.
Sales, it's an evolving, you have to ever improve, and you got to continue to motivate yourself. You're building relationships like crazy.
Right.
And so I'm really fascinated with the sales, and what I love about Fulcrum is you've filled a gap that's missing out there.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So tell me about what kind of customers y'all work with.
So historically, we've worked with B2B companies that are looking to grow. Obviously, they want to grow. Ideally, there's some demand in the marketplace. They've figured out who their customer is. And I'm describing one bucket of customers we have, right, where maybe they have a couple salespeople and they've grown organically, so the salespeople are kind of inundated with orders and customer relationships, and they're becoming more farmers than they are hunters.
Correct.
You can bolt us on to the farming team to be the hunter, because the easiest thing to throw to the wayside as a salesperson when you get busy is prospecting for new business. It's like, why add more into the top of the funnel when I can't keep up with the bottom?
That's right.
And the company doesn't like to hear that. You can kind of have your cake and eat it too if you hire Fulcrum, because this outside group is going to do the top of the funnel, and the inside group is just going to deal with what comes out the bottom.
That's right.
And we'll just get them more and more busy with handling orders, sending out quotes, that kind of thing. That has worked very well, and that's how our customers that are kind of what I would say beyond the go-to-market stage have really used us with great results.
Exactly.
But we do a lot of work in the go-to-market component. And sometimes that's with big companies. Like I was saying, CIS had hired us to bring a new product to market. I mean, CIS does not need to be taught anything about cardiology.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
But they didn't know how to bring this new division to marketplace. And so that would have required either A, we staff up a giant sales team and really go out and try to do this, or B, we learn by doing with a company that knows how to learn by doing. Because that's really the piece that an entry-level salespeople can't tell you what they're learning or finding out, because they don't even know it. They can't even see it. They can't put their hands around it. They're either failing or succeeding. That's all they're kind of...
Correct. See, all right, so this is kind of an aha moment for me.
Okay.
Because it's so true.
Yeah.
You're new in sales, and you're trying to make your way and figure things out. All you know is either I won the deal or I lost the deal.
That's right.
And that's what you're graded on. That's what you're paid on.
Right.
But what I just love what
There's
you just
no
said.
path.
Yeah, there's no pay. It's just win or lose, and just try to keep winning as much as you can.
That's right.
And hopefully they will learn from what's going on.
Right.
But y'all are built to learn by doing.
That's right.
That you might think about as a tagline of some kind of
built to learn,
or learn by doing.
Yeah,
or
that's
something
right.
like
That's
that.
right. I mean, I pitch ourselves a lot as a consulting firm that consults by doing, not so much consulting by saying.
So is that something that you've kind of, we keep on these light bulb aha moments, but have you figured that out along the way? Or was that the when you started Fulcrum, was that what you were trying to do?
I think I saw that opportunity, or that need rather, by being a sales professor and being asked to do a lot of training and coaching and consulting, where it was obvious that like I could bring these new ideas to the table, but the sales team at that company was stuck in this, not rut, but they were on the path that they were on, and it was going to be really hard to get them off one way or the other.
Yeah.
You know, we could get all rah-rah and motivated around, make cold calls, send emails, go get in front of the customer, drop in, make this, do that. But it's all good until like Monday morning when, all right, I got 15 emails of quotes needing to be sent out.
Yeah, correct. It's
so that's what I'm going to do.
The difference between prospecting and then doing the operations.
That's right. And I started to realize that what really had happened in the local marketplace, at least, this was in 2018, where I didn't have customers all over the country. We worked in probably 30 states now, probably 40 or 50 different verticals. I mean, some of our verticals that we've really built a niche in have been education technology, healthcare technology, medical technology and services. And I would say rental tool and oil and gas is another space of ours. Software as a service is a big one. But what I really started to notice is that Silicon Valley had built this, what they call a sales pod. It's this structure in their organization, in the sales department, where you have a sales development rep who is setting meetings for an account executive to close the meetings, who then passes it to an account manager to manage the relationship.
Yep.
So they took the full bag sales rep and they broke it down into 3 components. And that's what gives all these companies this scale, right? Where they have a 3-2-1 type of scenario. And they have 3 getters that are getting meetings for 2 closers that are closing for 1 account manager.
Got it.
What I think a lot of mom and pop companies do, and they do it well, and they do it by function of having to do it this way because they just can't afford to hire 7 people to grow a business in the sales department, is you get really blessed and you hire a great salesperson that knows how to prospect, that gets new customers, wins them as the closer, but then at some point they get so busy they don't bring on any new work.
Correct.
And the company wants to hire that individual. They want to hire someone who has done it before, but the doer has done it so well they can't do it no more.
That's exactly right. They're full. They're booked
full.
up.
And that's the tricky part about a full cycle, full bag sales rep.
Yeah.
And I had saw that as an orthopedic salesperson, where I was insatiable about getting new doctors to use our stuff. And not many guys on our team were like that. They were in surgeries all day and cases all day. I didn't want any of that. Like, get me out of the operating room. I want to go get a new doc.
Yeah, correct.
And so my boss gave me a lot of time to go do that. Caused some tracas in our sales team. You know, it was like, well, I'm stuck in surgeries all day. And then my boss would be like, well, Reece is selling.
Yeah, correct.
And, well, I can't get out the surgery room to sell. It really highlighted the idea of, if you're servicing the business, you don't have time to get new business.
You can't do 2 things at once.
Right. And so the success of a tried and true salesperson leads to its demise.
Correct.
And when I saw what Silicon Valley was doing with this model, I thought, man, Fulcrum can be the SDR in all these industries that have grown organically, and they have salespeople that are good people. They just don't have time to prospect. We'll just bolt in.
Yep.
Right. And that has worked.
That has worked. You figured out a gap in the market.
Yep.
So you are a prospecting firm.
We're a prospecting firm. At our core, that's what we do.
Correct.
And I think the overall service we deliver, because we do a lot of other things. We do consulting, training, we do some marketing. You know, I wouldn't call us a branding shop or a marketing agency, but a lot of what we do ties into the marketing department. And we do CRM implementation for some clients. So it's multifaceted, but it's always focused on how do we generate net new revenue at a company. How do we generate net new revenue? Sometimes it's like we set up meetings with new customers on the core offering, and my guys are hopping on the meetings with the reps at our client's firm, and we're hearing things they're not hearing because we don't have a quota on our head. Like that salesperson. They're only wanting to sell that one thing. We're there as a informed bystander, and we're like, you didn't hear him ask you for this 5 times? No, man, I'm trying to sell that. Okay, well, we have a new idea, right? So again, it's marketing research, vis-a-vis the sales function.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So it allows you to get focused on net new revenue in a bunch of different ways.
No doubt about it. I love that. So you're truly serving your customers.
Oh, that's how I feel.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
And I think our customers would agree.
I love hearing stories like yours because you have these ideas, you figure out a gap, and then you go out and you start executing. Along the way, you figure more stuff out. And everybody listening or watching this, they're in the same boat, but maybe they just haven't figured things out.
Well, and the symptoms of the problem are always different. So it's trying to understand the symptoms. Like we have some clients that if we were to say, hey, we get you new leads, they would say, oh, I don't need new leads. And sometimes that's true, right? Their salespeople aren't converting the leads that they get because they're too busy with the full cycle sales problem, right? So sometimes we come in and we're a lead qualifying company. We don't go get new business leads. But we interject ourselves on the sales team as a filter before the salesperson to just streamline those new leads coming in. Some people are so fortunate that the market has an insatiable demand for what they have.
Yeah, sure.
The problem still exists is that we don't have a easy way towards net new revenue. And we don't know where we're missing, but we feel like we should be converting more.
Yeah, there are a lot of conversion points along the way, and so you guys figure out where you can help.
That's right.
And then you go in.
It typically starts with outreach, with prospecting.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It does.
Yeah, because that's the one thing that nobody wants to do. Nobody likes to cold call. Nobody wants to send out an email to somebody they don't know. It's because it's, I guess, that fear of rejection.
Where do you buy a list?
Yeah, correct.
Right? What tool do you use? There's so many decisions before that scary decision.
That's right.
That it's really easy not to make that decision.
That's right. You just don't do it.
You just don't do it.
Yep. And so we rely on word of mouth or our reputation.
Or marketing.
Or marketing.
Branding
and let marketing do everything.
Stuff. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, this is great. So where is Fulcrum going now? Tell me about the future.
The future for us is about just getting better, right? Like making sure our benchmarks across all of our clients and all of our industries are just always improving. For example, I say this and people call BS on it all the time, but it's absolutely true. Our email open rate on a cold email is about 60%.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah, and people will say like, no way, my newsletter only gets 15%. And you can come look at my data, right? It's there, 60%. It's about driving not only that rate though, but also the reply rate, the yes rate, the connect rate on a cold call. You know, it's really about engagement at the end of the day. That's what we do is we help companies engage with their prospects. Doesn't matter if it's LinkedIn, email, telephone, conferences, trade shows, whatever the best mode of engagement is going to be, we can help you driving that engagement from a percentage standpoint. And those percentages often lead to the result, which is that engagement converting into monetary value, revenue, profitability, that kind of thing.
You raise this up 1% and you raise this conversion point up 1%, this 2%
has a profound impact.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's compounding.
Yeah.
We had one client. And this is important to know just from a learning scenario. We had one company, ed tech company, venture-backed, had raised a ton of money. They had a core service offering. They had grown through a small sales team, through founder relationships. They hired a VP of sales to come in. That VP of sales hired us to be their learning factory, right? Like, we got to get more at bats, more reps. It's not about hitting the ball. It's just about getting the pitches coming in. And so we worked hand in hand with them, onboarded them, understood everything about their offering, started offering that to the decision makers they thought that there was their go-to-market channel. And it became pretty evident after a couple months that what they were selling was just not it. It wasn't the problem in the marketplace that the market was going to be like, that's what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, correct.
It was sellable if you had the intentionality, the trust, the previous relationships, but you can't scale that, right? It takes a long time to scale that. There wasn't this insatiable appetite where it was like, if we put this thing in front of a decision maker, they're going to be like, ooh, that's what I've been waiting for.
Yep.
And that's that aha moment we try to create with all of our clients, is like, how do we get to a presentation of what we do in a way that the market says, finally, someone wants to do this for me?
That's right. That's right.
And so over 8 months, we finally found it with this customer. And it's like, the meetings haven't gone up. The meetings have actually gone down, but they're closing 40% of them.
Wow.
For more revenue than they ever thought they'd make on a customer.
Yeah.
Because we focused on what was important. It wasn't vanity metrics on, look, we got you this open rate, this click rate, this reply rate, this meeting, this. It was about the close.
Yeah,
Are these leads closing
Yeah.
into net new relationships that actually produce revenue?
Yeah.
And if you ask yourself that question, right, and you're patient enough to learn through the process and tweak it over 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, now the company's raising a Series C round and hiring sales reps, and they're crushing it.
Yeah.
And they're doing something that no one else is doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they know that something else is valuable to the decision maker.
Yeah.
So all their conversations go better. The trade shows go better. Rising tides lift all boats once you found the thing that the market wants to pay for.
And the problem that you solve. Very,
it's
very
glaringly
well.
Obvious.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
Pretty cool.
It's very, very cool. I'm stuck on net new revenue, and that's what you're doing for customers.
Yeah.
And
that's always the goal.
Yeah. And it's, whether it's prospecting or helping them reshape a product or an offering.
Yeah. Look, sometimes we do a 90-day sprint of prospecting, and we realize in that 90 days, the prospecting is not the problem. We could line the meetings up.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Like there's demand in the market for this exact thing. The problem is when we get on the meeting, it's not converting.
Yeah. Correct.
Right. And so for the next 30 days, we'll focus, or we'll do a special project just around creating a good sales presentation that matches a good flow.
Yeah.
Training that sales rep on how to ask good questions.
Yep.
What this model of SDR, AE, AM produces is siloed competency. So the AE just shows up and like throws up a pitch.
Yeah, correct.
Right? Because the SDR had the discovery conversation of asking questions and pulling out a need and pulling out interest and pulling out fit and qualifying the lead. If the AE doesn't have to do that, they won't. And that's a problem.
Correct.
Because salespeople asking qualifying questions isn't just for their benefit. It actually helps the conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I'm selling you something and I don't ask you anything about your need, your pain, your budget, the problem, your story, you going to trust me?
Yeah, correct.
No.
Correct.
I'm going to say, this is what I got. This is what it does. And I'm going to hope to God that everything I said matches what you envision.
Yeah, it never works.
Never works.
Never works.
So sometimes we see that that's the problem, especially with co-founder or founder-led growth companies where the main salesperson is a VP or a CEO type character. That's a big challenge. I can't tell you how many times I work with a VP or chief level individual that's a killer salesperson and they don't know how they do it.
Yeah, you're correct. They have no idea what their magic touch is.
Translate that value to the next salesperson. So they got to hire a veteran salesperson.
Yeah, correct.
But they don't. They just need to pull out what they're doing, put it in a playbook, and then educate an entry-level salesperson how to do it.
Yeah, correct.
Right? But sometimes we don't know how to pull out that knowledge we have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it comes so naturally.
It comes so natural.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I can plug someone in the local community, Susan Cox, who's the CEO of LogoJet.
Yeah.
She's one of the best salespeople I've ever met. But if you ask her, hey, how do you do it? she don't know it. She'll openly admit that. Like, I think I do this. I think I do that. I'm passionate. I'm excited. I know the story. That's all part of it. She's right.
Sure.
But she's also got that special thing that it's really hard to pull out and translate to a junior sales rep just starting.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm good at we're good at teasing that out.
Yeah, y'all are.
And thinking of like, oh, this is what the market really wants. This is what they're biting on.
Thank you for this, because it's fascinating. And I want you to share with somebody who's listening. They're an entrepreneur or they're really early in the game.
Yep.
Give them a piece of advice for how to get started and what direction to go into.
So the first thing would be my first aha moment, which is go down a path of your specialty. What can you actually execute? Because business is all about execution, right? Like, it's the truest thing is there's a graveyard of a billion good ideas that were $1 million ideas that just died in the graveyard because no one ever actually did anything about them.
No.
So if that's the truth, and I believe it is with a capital T, that you have to execute, you better choose something you can execute or have a founder that can execute it, right? That's why the Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak thing works so well, is because Woz was an executor, bro. Mm-hmm. He knew how to build that stuff. Jobs was not.
Yeah.
What was he an executor of? Marketing, sales, the vision, raising money. He was a freak at that.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the combination to start something, because the Steve Jobs in the room with the customer will never know how to translate the technical need into a technical solution. Woz will never hear the vision or see the path or know what the next steps are or be able to convince a customer to buy. He'll do the work for free because he's a technologist.
Yeah, correct.
Like, oh, show it to me. Yeah, all you got to do is connect these two things and build this little bit of code, and there you go. You're done.
That's right.
$1 million idea done for free because he's a technologist. So you have to have that pair. The second business I really launched myself into was a social media website that I built. Probably all in, spent $40,000 and a year and a half of my life building this piece of technology. And I did it again. I thought, well, what's something I'll do for the rest of my life because I love it? And that's connecting people. So I thought, I'll build a social media website. Like, I'll never get tired of this. So built something that connected people, but I was not technically a coder. So I didn't know how to lead a coding team. My main coder would ask me questions on like, what's the vision? And all I can say is normal speak on what the vision was. And then $20,000 later, he'd deliver something and it was like, this is not at all what I'm talking about. I wasn't technologically sound.
Yeah.
Right. And so that really was the second thing that taught me, dude, you got to be able to actually execute something. And so when I put pencil to paper on Fulcrum, I was like, I'm really good at sales and marketing. I can execute that.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
Put your logo on my chest, I'm going to help you figure out a path to revenue. And I was in that seat for a long time, Jeff, probably. I mean, you want to talk about working in the business, not on the business.
Yeah,
I was in it,
doing
the service
No.
for several years, And I think part of that was trying to figure out, what does the market actually need? They're telling me they need this. I know they need these pieces. The goal is always net revenue.
Yeah.
But how do you crack that out into the pieces that actually make up net revenue? What can I do? What can we not do? What's ethical? What's legal? What's all this stuff? So you gotta step in the boat and row it, But if you don't know how to row, you have a problem from day one.
From day one.
Day one.
Yeah. I've been able to see you with your team, not so much with clients, but with your team, and I'm fascinated how you really lift them up, and you really want to help them improve and get better, not just professionally, but personally.
Right.
And so I often ask this question, when someone encounters you, how do you leave them different and better just because they encountered you?
Man, what a great question. I have been told by a lot of people that I have a special something. And I don't know what that is, right? I can theorize and get philosophical or spiritual, religious with you. I think one of my mentors told me, after knowing me for a while, he's actually a mindset coach. He said, man, Reece, I figured out what your superpower is. And I was like, okay, tell me. He's like, you know you're loved by God. And I was like, whoa. I immediately started crying because he put into words what I've always tried to understand. Is like, when I meet someone, what's that special thing that they see? Is it the suit? Is it the hair? Is it the charisma? So you try to like overplay all these things, and you never really realize that it's already been given to you. You just recognize the gift. And other people are seeking that gift, and they see it in you. And so what I've learned is to always try to impart that gift onto someone. Love them, not because I am loved, but because I've already been loved. So I can love you too.
Thanks for joining us this week on I Finally Get It. For more information on Reece and what he's up to now, just visit our show notes at ifinallygetit.com. See you next week when we sit down with Daniel Dolphin, where he shares the moment he says, I finally get it. Make sure to visit ifinallygetit.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel or anywhere you listen to your podcast so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep learning real life lessons so you can have a real good life.